Welcome to Winchester Beat, a local news roundup for Winchester, Mass. We aim to bring you the latest community news in a fast format to keep you informed without slowing you down.
Hello and welcome. I'm Tara Hughes.
And I'm Jennifer Hafley. We've got a different and longer show for you today as we share our conversation with Winchester's new town manager, Chris Sr.
Mr. Sr. was sworn in as town manager on January 14th. His arrival marked the end of a lengthy leadership transition after previous town manager Beth Rudolph resigned last July. The role was filled on an interim basis until his appointment.
Mr. Sr. arrived in the position just weeks before the special town meeting on the State of the Town report. He had been in his role for just about 2 months when the proposed override failed at the ballot box, and 3 months when spring town meeting convened.
He was previously town manager in Cohasset, where he served in that role for 12 years. His initial contract in Winchester runs through December 31st, 2026. We spoke with him on May 21st. Here is our conversation with Chris Sr.
Chris Sr., welcome to Winchester Beat, and thanks for joining us today. To get started, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you. This is the first time I've actually been on a podcast. I've listened to lots of them, so it's very exciting to be here. So I have been doing government work for a couple of decades now. Started in New York. I went off to Washington for a little bit, did some work for the major trade association, then came back to New York.
Washington, D.C.?
Yes, I was in D.C. with the National Association of Home Builders. Got to travel the country. It was actually a very cool job. And then I got lured to come back into government again. And I did some work at a county level, and then I went to work for a town called North Hempstead, and I became the deputy town supervisor. It's like being deputy mayor, number 2 in the town.
Was that in New York? Sorry.
I was in New York. That was on the North Shore of Long Island. I was there for a decade as the number 2 guy, and big community, 220,000 people. A third of the population spoke a foreign language at home. It was a very diverse place, and there were 13 school districts. It was very different than here, right? Like, I like doing this. Running governments is kind of cool. And then eventually the opportunity came, and I ended up in Cohasset, and I was there for 12 years. And then, after 12 years, it's kind of like, hey, it's been a great run. Is there something out there, something new? And Winchester appeared, and here I am. So I'm tremendously excited. And the last 4 months, it's only been a little more than 4 months, has really been tremendous. People have been so engaging. There's been so much to learn, and still so much to learn. So I'm looking forward to that ongoing conversation. I was just at the Chamber of Commerce's Citizen and Business of the Year. I saw several people I had seen 2 or 3 other times during the week in different positions in different places, and that's what communities are, right? Everyone wears different hats and does different things, and it's really what makes Winchester an exciting place to be.
What was it that interested you in the town manager's role in Winchester?
Like I said, it's a very engaging place. You're doing a lot of things really well. At the same time, there's always ways you can do things better and take a second look at things. One of the things I've learned in government is doing it the way we've always done it, the old phrase, right? Bad answer. Right? Tradition's great. I love tradition. I have a lot of family history, all the great holidays, all kinds of family traditions. But in government, you want to do good things. But you want to always relook at what you're doing, much like the private sector does, right? Sometimes you have the secret recipe and then you switch to New Coke and it doesn't work, right?
True.
In government, though, the secret recipe, you want to provide services, but things have changed, right? Like even last night, the Nowell's talking about where their business started, right? Horse-drawn carriages, right? They're not doing horse-drawn carriages anymore. At the same time, they're still doing this essential service, moving people, picking up trash. Government does that too. We have to constantly look at how we do it, though. We're still providing services, but are we doing it the most efficient way, the most effective way? Because we're stewards of the taxpayers' money, and our job as staff is to really implement things effectively and efficiently, and of course, always engage people in order to do it. Winchester has all those things. It has good financial foundation. It has a really good staff and really engaged citizenry. So who really want to do things, right? It's not. Some people say, I want to preserve everything. I say, well, we all do, right? We want to keep the high quality of life and all of that, but none of us want to live in colonial Williamsburg or Sturbridge Village, right? We don't want to seal the town in amber. Well, some people might, right? But we don't get to live that way. So we want to keep the best and then make sure we preserve it with fresh energy and fresh ideas.
You mentioned that you were lured into town government. What were you doing before, and what was it that made you kind of want into government types of roles?
So my first job out of college was as a reporter. So I have a journalism degree from Boston University, and I ended up working for a little local radio station in Framingham, WKOX Metro West Radio, and I was actually on the radio. I did radio news for a couple of years. And it was a lot of fun, and I'm covering local government, right? So I'm covering all of these communities, and I come there the first night. They said, generate local news. I'm like, okay. I'm like, what do I do, right? So I end up developing relationships with members of key boards all across the communities. And in communities where there's a little bit of a disagreement, I had somebody on each side, like in Ashland, for example. There were two particular factions of that select board, and both of them would talk to me. So that I'd call them after a meeting, and Fred would call me, and Arnold would call me, and I'd get their good quotes. And then I'd have other members of various boards that would call. And again, my job I wasn't being Woodward and Bernstein here, right? I was trying to get local news to people, help get information out. And so I'd ask good questions. I'd say, what's happened at the meeting? What about this particular issue? I did it for a couple of years. After our first year, a local newspaper lured me away. And I covered the 8 communities in the western region, and covering town meeting and conservation commissions and select boards, you name it. And I learned about New England local government. Little did I know that one day I'd come back, right? So I ended up going to law school, and then going from that to do some actual lawyering. I worked for local government and for a small firm, and then a local government. And then I'm like, I want to do something a little bit different. The opportunity came to go to Washington to go for the home builders. And I traveled the country doing law regarding community planning, zoning, contracts, employment. And then the opportunity came to come back to government. And I thought about it, and then the opportunity came, and I became counsel of the Planning Commission in Nassau County. I moved back to New York. It was up. I got a chance to go back into North Hempstead. Local government involves all the skills, my lawyer skills, my reporting skills, all of the stuff I learned in college, all the stuff I learned in kindergarten, right? Be nice to other people, share, right? All those things. And local government really is, the local government is really where the action is. This is really where the proverbial rubber meets the road. And it's really where you can do the most good. You really have the most opportunity to interact with people. It's really great.
Well, bringing it back to the local government, some people probably don't even know what the town manager does. Could you give us kind of an idea of what you do on a daily basis as town manager?
I get to do podcasts. Very exciting. So it's a little bit of a lot of things, right? So I'm in charge of managing the government on a day-to-day basis. Not the schools. I mean, I work with Dr. Hackett, but the schools are their own independent world. But what I'm doing is I'm overseeing the staff that oversee everything from water, sewer, police, fire, collecting the taxes, cleaning the streets, parks, recreation, everything. And it also involves engaging with all kinds of boards and committees, and Winchester has a couple of those. And then going to community events, too, because I really want to get out there and interact. And like I said last night, I was at the Chamber of Commerce. I was at the Chamber of Commerce Citizen of the Year and Business of the Year. And I was at the Town Meeting Association meeting with them my first couple of weeks here on a Saturday at the Winchester Community Park, which, wow, that's the hottest place on a Saturday, right? Jeez. I've been up to, walked around downtown. I've been to a bunch of local businesses. In fact, I'm doing that again with the Chamber shortly. I'm going to be going around and walking and just meeting folks. And I have another meeting with business owners coming up in a couple of weeks. And, I've been to a whole bunch of boards and committee meetings. I've toured town facilities. I wandered through the public works yard my first week, and the guys are like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm saying hello, right? And the guy's like, I got grease on my hand. I'm like, it's okay. I'm shaking his hand. Because I want to get out there and see people, right? I don't want to be in my office all the time. I want to get out and engage. So that's it's not a top-down thing, right? My job is more like, or a conductor. I'm here to make sure people are playing in harmony with each other. With the script that the town prepares, right? I'm not writing the symphony. It's the town's doing that through town meeting, through committees, and most certainly through the select board, which is the chief executive body. So, and it's not the mayor, by the way. I'm not the mayor. I'm not elected. I don't take political positions. I'm not involved in politics. I don't endorse candidates. I don't do any of that stuff, and work to implement the community's goals and objectives that they develop through this great committee structure you have.
So which parts of that do you enjoy the most, do you think? And which parts do you find most challenging?
I think the best part of the job is that you get to interact with a lot of people every day. One of the most exciting and also one of the most challenging is that things can be different every day, right? You come in with a list of things you want to accomplish. At the end of the day, you may have tackled almost none of it, but you tackled a whole bunch of other things because that's what happens, right? And then you're also constantly looking ahead. So you really have to look 2-3 steps down the board, whether that's for the budget process or the upcoming meetings or are there deadlines for a grant? There's all kinds of stuff like that. So, as I said, it's the engagement with folks, with people, and also just the wide variety of things you get to do.
So you've been in the role since January, about 4 months, yeah. And there's been a failed override, and there's also been one spring town meeting which deals with budgets. So how do you feel things are going? And
Well, I'll start with what went really incredibly well. So town meeting, unanimous adoption of the budget on the floor and no amendments, right? I'm told that has not been common, and I want to give all the credit to the committees. Derek, the chair of the finance committee, and the folks on the select board and the school committee who really worked, and all the members of the finance committee who worked really hard. Stacy Ward and her team in the comptroller's office who kept every number polished down to the penny, and it was an open conversation, and that all led out of the override. Right, I came in. And the state of the town had happened, right? And I read about all that, by the way. That was actually a real positive for me. The community was having these great conversations that told me everything was going, no matter what happened, people's hearts were in the right place, their minds were in the right place about developing the data necessary and the rigor. And then I come on board, and the board voted, and again, it ended up being a unanimous vote. A lot of conversations, and I had several members on the phone with me during the course of that. And they unanimously put a question on the ballot. And good conversation. And then, unfortunately, it didn't pass. It wasn't one vote. It was close. And people said, wait a second, we're not quite ready yet. And as someone said to me, I don't think the vote was a no, it was a not yet. Because I think people want high services. They want high quality. And I think there's also been a lot of uncertainty, right? Between February and March, 1 month, war in Iran, oil price hikes, things got really unmoored. I mean, things were a little bit challenging and unique anyway, but I think things got really even more unmoored. And at that point, everyone's going to say, wait a second, can we get a little more time? And in fairness, the town still has a good fiscal foundation. Obviously, there were cuts made, hard decisions that had to be made. Real people are losing their jobs at the school side. And we've had to freeze positions at the fire department and at the public works department. And we don't want to be understaffed. We have to respond to calls 24/7. We have to plow the roads. We have to fix the roads. Kids have to be educated. You don't get to say, we're not teaching you on Tuesday. Go play. It doesn't work like that, right? You have to prepare all the time. So everyone's had to make hard decisions. That said, the conversation was a good one, and hard decisions were made, but in a very honest and open way. And I think the community is better for it. I know it's hard, but I think there was a lot of information that's been put out there. I think it was also a sign, hey, this is real. The financial crisis, the challenges are real. And it's not, I've heard people say, well, it's a spending problem. Well, I mean, spending does drive it. It's true. At the same time, costs are going up and people aren't free. It's like people aren't volunteering to teach. I mean, I know there's volunteers who help and all that, but teachers have to pay their bills too. So do the guys who drive the trucks and the people who man the ambulance. They have bills to pay. And while you can, hold the line on salaries to some extent within reason, utility costs go up. We have to keep the building lit. We still have to pay for electricity. We have to have a robust security around the government too, from an IT point of view, right? Because we're dealing with $171 million. It has to be protected. So a lot of good conversations, tough conversations. I think we're on a good path. I think there's a clear willingness to have these hard conversations and to prepare, because the community's going to be asked again. I'm not telling you anything that hasn't been said already in public. There's going to be a need to have another conversation about an override. It would be great if there were other levers, if the state would give us other levers. The meals tax is one of the only few things we have, and the meals tax is 0.75 cents on a $100 bill. Even in Winchester, it's about $300,000. That's real money. And we have the excise tax, right? Nobody likes to pay that. We don't even assess it, right? The state does, and we have almost nothing else. There's a lodging tax. The town just adopted that because of some Airbnbs in town. So we're going to get maybe $10,000, $15,000 a year from that. It's not nothing, right? Every bit of revenue matters. But we don't have, a golf course. We don't have an arena. We don't have a large commercial base here, and it's not likely to happen, right? There's not land here, right? It's not the right location for it. That said, there's a lot of ways that we can kind of help generate some additional revenue that's non-property tax. The state needs to give us more tools. Without those tools, and the state is still not giving them to us, it all comes down pretty much to there's fees and things we could tweak, and there's been real efforts to do that. Building fees, some of the transfer station fees, which are just covering costs, even parking fees a little bit. we take a look at the other things we charge for. But you don't want to nickel and dime people. People can feel that, I'm nickel and diming it. We're not doing that. We're trying to make sure that fees are appropriate and they're covering the costs. Property taxes, where most of the revenue comes from. It just is. I mean, none of us probably would have made the system like it is. And that's just the way it is. So if the government's kind of do all the great things citizens want, you have to have the money to do it.
I did just wonder, I think I've seen that at the state level there's a bill that does include a funding formula that would send more to municipalities. Have you heard anything about that, and do you know where it stands?
So the state is, I think, studying the whole Chapter 70 stuff. That's school aid.
For schools, but I think in general, isn't there one for towns as a whole?
Yeah, there's unrestricted local aid. And actually, if the budget goes through as it's currently, the governor sent a budget. That's what we plan the town's budget around, is the governor's proposal. The House did tweak it, and Representative Day, by the way, has been great in getting us some earmarks and also pushing hard for extra educational aid. And by the way, Senator Lewis, who we're going to miss a tremendous amount, I've only got to know him a little bit. He's been really pushing very hard for more educational aid and obviously more money for literacy. We're hoping to see a little bit of that in the budget. The Senate's now debating, and they've made some more additional tweaks. So hopefully at the end of the day, we'll be in better shape than we thought at the very beginning of the cycle. At the same time, costs have gone up, right? I mean, oil, the price of energy, and oil fuels lots of other things, has gone up all over. And that affects literally everything, right? The state is looking at things, but they haven't really, it's still study, it's still talk. I'm hoping they'll give us some more levers, even just a 0.25%. The governor's proposed a 0.25% increase, like from 0.75 to 1% for the local meals tax. That's another $100,000. That's not nothing, right? That's a teacher plus. That's we need the kind of ability to do that at the local level, and the state just hasn't provided that level of flexibility.
You had mentioned the hiring freeze due to the failed override, and we understand that the assistant town manager has retired, I believe, right? And does that mean his position will not be filled at this point, or?
Well, I haven't filled it. So that position became technically vacant last fall when the assistant retired. And by the way, I want to thank Mark for all his service, and I had a chance to work with him for a couple of months too, and I really do appreciate all the help he gave in that transition. So I haven't filled it. That said, it's really hard to run an organization this large. I have someone come in. She's doing a couple of days part-time, working mostly on this compensation and classification study as a contractor. And I have another gentleman who's come in now 3 days a week. He's going to be working with me on the capital plan and procurement and a few of those things. So I haven't made a decision on what the structure should be. And I don't think that it has to look like it did before. Someone might have a title as the assistant town manager, and there's actually a deputy town manager title too. But they may wear multiple hats, So I'm still kind of figuring that out. And over the summer, I think I'll continue to see where that goes. So someone will be hired at some point. But at the moment, I haven't. I've been using other part-time solutions and interim solutions. And also, I wanted to be exposed. Like the town manager, the assistant had historically here done all the capital. I'm going to be involved in capital. I need to be involved, right? I'm signing off on procurement. I did all those stuff, work on the warrant with a lot of other folks, right? I have a great staff, but I needed to be all in on the town meeting, and I've done a bunch of them. But I did 22 of them in Cohasset. Though those are only one night, so here it was 4 nights. So I've done like 4 years of town meeting. For me, in 1 year in Winchester.
And there's still fall town meeting to go.
I know. So I'm going to do I literally am kind of agent dog here. It's like seven town meetings, 7 nights of town meeting a year here.
Just to clarify, sorry. So even without an override passing, you could then fill the position?
Yes, the money's budgeted. The money's been budgeted. The positions that have been frozen for savings purposes are really in public works and fire mostly right now. And then we're doing a case by case. That said, we're holding positions open. I've held this assistant position open, so there is savings coming from it. And I don't expect to hire anybody on July 1 either. So we're going to generate some savings anyway. We all have to do our part, and I'm trying to do that too in my office. I don't think you need the same look. I do think you need to have. I'm trying to get some of the department heads to step up a little bit more too, and see how much people can stretch. And again, it's not a top-down thing; it's a collaborative thing. And I think we can collaborate in teams more too.
How many staff do you have right now? And if budget were not an issue, are there specific roles that you would like to have filled or to exist?
On the town side, we have a couple hundred people. The core, the largest number of people work at Public Works. We have a little bit less than 100 folks over at Public Works. And then fire, police, and actually police is technically even larger because they have part-time crossing guards. And then library. Those are the 4 largest departments. And then we have departments of 1, right? We have 1 sustainability person, right? We have 3 people in the assessor's office. So there's very few places. There's really no place that you consider to be like, it's bloated, right? Nobody's sitting in a corner doing nothing, right? The inspectors are inspecting. The public works drivers are driving and cleaning and patching and cutting and, all the things they do. One of the things that I think has been identified in the past is communications. In North Hempstead, 2 full-time people doing communications all the time. Right? In Cohasset, it was kind of a sporadic. And we tried to streamline some of that. And then the select board's like, during COVID, we got to do something more permanent. So we hired a company initially, and then we budgeted for a full-time person to do communications. And that worked great. I think I don't know that we need to just hire somebody. I think we need to rejuggle positions a little bit to give people a little more time for that, because we need to do more on social media. We just do. We need to make sure the website's updated regularly. This is great.
Maybe a website, maybe?
Yeah, well, the software we have is used by a lot of other governments. It's a lot more flexible than I think people realize. You can make it look like a lot of different things. I could show you 5 other governments. You're like, oh, wow, they have different software. No, they don't. They just use it differently. So I think there's things we can do to make it look and operate a little bit differently. And again, staff who work on that, it's only a part of their day, right? They love doing it, but they have so many other things to do. So I think we need to reorganize a little bit so people have more time to devote to that. And also there's other communication vehicles too, right? So I used to do a town manager update, and then occasionally I'd video it. I was talking with Dave here at WinCam about doing that. Have little videos like, how do you get a building permit, or how do you apply for a restaurant permit, or I think it'd be fun. And I like to work with folks at WinCam to do that. Sometimes old school's great too, right? Mailing. People actually open their mail, right? I mean, it's not crazy to do that. And those flashing signs can sometimes help. And, I think it's an all-in kind of way. And also meet people where they are, even flyers, right? If I want to get information to families, I would go to Winchester Community Park on a Saturday. Or have people sign up there and get to give us their email addresses. Then we could push out the Town Manager newsletter. We just did that. The clerk had a great database, which she now merged with the database that the town manager's office had. Instead of sending out 400, we're sending out a couple thousand now. And if people want to share their emails with us, that's great. We want to make sure we're getting information to you. And people are in a high information world. When we send out information, we want to make it worthwhile.
You can get alerts from the town as well. You could pick the boards, who you want to hear from, and actually get alerts.
Thank you for pointing that out, because there is actually a feature on the website. You can get if there's a particular committee you want to know more about, they'll push the agendas out to you. They'll let you know there's a meeting coming up, and news alerts. So please go to the town's website and sign up for that feature. It is a great thing to have. And I'm always open to new ways of getting stuff to people, right? I'd love to. And I think little synopses are really great too. And then if they want to read more, read more.
All right, I guess we can, wrap it up with just a couple fun questions. What do you like to do outside of work so someone can get an idea of you as a person? Your hobby?
What does this mean?
I know. What is outside of work?
So I have a golden retriever, which, by the way, she comes most days, and she's hanging out at my office. So if you want to visit her, Kayla's in the office. So take her out. She's good. She makes me walk, right? Been to Hort Pond. Haven't been to the Fells yet, but she loves downtown Winchester. And she loves the smells. We walk around the ponds. We go all over. So it's great. So I have a golden. She's a rescue. She's my second rescue. I'm a big baseball fan. I am a New York Met fan, in full disclosure. But one of the first games I ever went to was a Red Sox game as a kid. And I went regularly when I was at BU. So I'm a big Red Sox fan, too. I love to travel in Maine. And I have a group of friends back from New York, and actually from college, too. But I like to get together with people whenever I can. So big fan of just relaxing and going out. And I do like to cook, too, sometimes. Don't have a chance to do that very much. But those are a couple of things. So.
Nice. Anything else you would like people to know before we wrap up here today?
Winchester's a great place. Engage. Please be engaged. And also, please be respectful, okay? People are in this town because they love it. You don't have to agree on everything. Like, you don't have to agree on the Yankees and the Red Sox or the Mets. Be respectful. That's the most important thing. You're at the local level, right? We have gotten so numb to how people treat each other at the federal level. Nobody wants to be disrespectful. You can disagree. It's okay. You can even feel passionately. But remember, you all live here for a reason. It's a beautiful place. Just be respectful. have a debate. You can be intense about the debate, but treat each other respectfully. Even if you don't shake hands at the end, don't shake fists at the end, right? Please be nice, right? Town meeting was great, right? People had some really passionate points of view, but you know what? Everyone went home and they're still neighbors, right? People in the same precinct can vote differently, and that's okay, right? It's a great town, and it works because people share and they feel comfortable doing that, right? When a decision is made, you got to move forward, right? And because we're not doing major world-shaking things here, we're doing Winchester setting things here. So just that's all I ask. And I think people are really good about it. And I try to do that too. I tell my staff, no drama. The world gives us drama, right? We can watch drama on TV. Do not create drama, please. So yeah, by the way, I'm loving it. If you see me walking my dog, stop, say hello. If you're in the building, come and say hello. I'd love to meet as many people as possible. And I'm really excited to be here on this show, and I hope you'll bring me back.
Thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for your time. And that's it for today's show. Thanks as always to WinCam for hosting us. For any questions or comments, you can reach us at winchesterbeat01890@gmail.com.
Thanks for listening. We hope you'll join us for our next episode, which will be our last show for now. Have a good week, and stay curious, Winchester.